for me to get to that goal, which is the ultimate goal, the wedding, I will need caterers. So caterers stick, I'll need photographer stick, I'll need pastor. But then you go to pastor and pastor says PMCC, and therefore so PMCC tick, and then pastor finally tick. Right? I think that is such a serious misconception, and no one should ever do PMCC because they want to do a wedding.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're joining us around the world. Welcome to another episode of Tuesday Connect. And over the last few weeks, we have been talking about relationship at Mamlaka Hill Chapel. But before we go too far, who is talking to you? My name is Isaac Murage, pastor for adults and marriage ministries here at Mamlaka Hill Chapel. And it's a great pleasure to be able to introduce to you today my good friend, none other than Reverend Mwangi.
Hi.
Hey, Sama boss.
Niko salama sana. Yeah, it's good to be here. Good to be here.
I've been okay since we were doing Tuesday Connect.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yes.
Life happens.
And then life has happened. You know, just recently I realized that I don't know when the timestamp is going to be many years from now when people are watching this clip, but this week is exactly 6 months since COVID arrived in these shows of ours.
6 months. Yeah, and I hear it arrived earlier than that.
Yeah,
and the newspapers.
Okay.
Yeah,
but
wow. Okay. We are still here and thankful to God.
Amen.
Yeah,
Amen.
COVID
Amen.
or no COVID, he has been good to us and protected us.
That's our.
Yeah.
Viewers, as I said earlier on, we've been talking about the whole issue about relationships. I think Pastor Kathy, Ted, and Reverend John Agagwa have really delved a lot into the whole area of relationships, especially when they're dealing with singlehood or the whole area of dating and many other areas in that department. Well, today we want to be able to change gears a little bit and go to another level, which is the whole issue about marriage. Now, when you talk about marriage, there are very many things that come with it. There are misconceptions. We want to be able to address those misconceptions. And the first thing, Mangi, I want to be able to just throw out there is this. Why are church weddings so expensive?
That's a misconception.
It's a misconception.
You had to start with us.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you and I have done very many weddings, and that's coming up. Every other day that church weddings are very expensive. But for as many couples as have met me, I think I've done a good job in trying to make that very clear that it is not the church wedding that is expensive. It is the reception that is expensive. There's a very big difference between reception and the wedding.
Okay.
All right? And I like to start by saying that the reception is the party. You know, the mogidi, the dance, the food, and all that. And imagine that is not required neither by the church and neither by the government.
Okay.
Yeah, the reception is neither here nor there. It is an important piece to celebrate the day because this is a very big day. But imagine it's neither required. The wedding is that service, the church, the sacred church service, where we literally have a service that is dedicated. Everything is dedicated. The prayer, the liturgy, everything is dedicated to presenting you as a couple before God as you start your marriage together.
Okay.
And usually happens in a church. It can happen in a garden. It's the service part, commonly called the service part.
Okay.
So church wedding is not very expensive. I don't know which one because, I mean, should we do the month? The requirements.
Yes.
First of all, you need 2 witnesses.
Okay.
I mean, those will be free. I'm sure everybody has some friends. And the 2 witnesses is a male and a female. a male and the female Kenyans, maybe 18 years, who can sign.
Yes.
How much does that cost? Right?
Themselves.
And then the next thing is, of course, the lady's dress.
Okay. And you
That
don't
one,
really-
every boy shall ask to facilitate and get your lady a dress. You as a dude, please, if you want to come with jeans, it's okay, but your girl has to wear a good, beautiful dress, right?
Okay.
So that's the other cost, and then the rings.
Okay.
Yeah. Apart from that, what else do you need?
Actually, that's
Pretty
a big
much
one.
it.
That's pretty much
Of course, there will be now your shoes and stuff like that. But beyond that, pretty much that's what the church wedding is. Of course, now the prayers, the liturgy, the sermons, all that goes into all that. How much does that cost? Now, on the other side, let's look at the reception. That's when we begin to talk about flowers. We begin to talk about the cameras, the photography, the drones, the clothes for the bridal team, the venues, the food. It's a big thing. A big thing. And then things begin to look very, very expensive.
And they can get pretty
Yeah,
expensive.
transport, logistics, and all those things. So there's a big difference, and a couple needs to be aware. So it's a misconception that church weddings are expensive.
Okay.
At least not here. We know them to be cheap.
Okay. I think you've had it here today that church weddings are not expensive. But I think there's something else I also want people to I see in there. There is also a very big investment on the wedding day.
Yeah.
Fail to understand that beyond the wedding day is a marriage. And maybe it's good people to first, maybe to remove the misconception, maybe it's good to ask, where did marriage actually start? I mean, I know it's something that you see on your liturgy quite a bit whenever you, but I mean, it's not that common. Where did marriage actually start?
Well, you and I have done very many weddings, and I'd like to quote Genesis 2:18. God said it's not good for a man to be alone. And the confusion about the wedding day and having the wedding day as the ultimate end and everything being a means to this day. Honestly speaking, I don't know what we will ever do with that. How much we need to speak on that particular issue.
Yes.
And I think the honesty is you and I, we did weddings, but we were caught up in the same thing, thinking there is no tomorrow. But now, as I get older and as I meet couples, I like to prepare them for that. That a wedding day, the way I define it is, it's a 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. event.
Okay.
That's the wedding day.
The wedding day.
And 7 p.m. for sure comes. And then now you are married.
And people disperse.
And people will go.
Yes.
Sometimes talking badly because they ate.
The rice was not well cooked.
Yeah, the rice wasn't well cooked. Can you imagine that? And anyway, so 7 p.m. for sure comes on your wedding day.
Okay.
Then what? Then what? And it's unfortunate that most couples or enough number of couples have not figured the 7 p.m. and thereafter. Yeah. So I usually say for the wedding day itself, leave it to your friends and your relatives. They can help do the logistics of the day and everything. It doesn't have to be what preoccupies you. The worst danger for me, Isaac, has been. So this is me. I want to get married.
Okay.
There's someone as a partner, right? And from the day we declare that we have intentions to marry each other, I usually find it very sad that all your friends are sucked into this monster called wedding. You know, you as a couple, you've been sucked into that by that monster. It's holding you like this. Every conversation, every emotion, every energy spent has to do with the wedding, right? Nobody's asking you whether you're prepared for marriage or not. If you meet your friends, hey, but then nasikia ati dating siku gani? Usijali, nakutumia kakitu. And so I try to resist that monster as much as I can, so that I can keep helping the couple focus on the 7 p.m. and thereafter.
Because 7 p.m. surely comes.
Surely comes.
Yes.
Tens surely go down. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the things that I find and I'm beginning to discover in this season. But the other thing also, the other misconception that I've also come to see quite clearly is the fact that we sometimes tend to look at this person whom I'm getting married to as my soulmate, the one who's going to complete me. And I always think that is a huge responsibility to put on another human being.
Another human being.
To complete
My
you,
goodness.
to be your soulmate. And I think that already sets you up for failure.
Disappointment
And
frustration. Yeah.
Yes, and frustrations.
Sort of the misconception there is that marriage is for self-actualization. It's just one of...
Whoa, repeat that again. Marriage is
for self-actualization. You know, I've grown up, you
Yes.
know, I have a job, then I have maybe some secure finances, and so the next thing in this line of my achievement is to get a spouse. So you're also getting a spouse for self-actualization. Everything has to do with you. And then you go shopping. So all along, it has nothing to do with that person.
Yes.
Except because it's about self-actualization, you know what you want, how you want it, and you have seen it, you get it
Yes.
in that spouse, and you are thinking, yeah, another thing I have achieved, right? That's you've assumed that one human being, for example, is capable of making you happy. Is this
huge
where
responsibility.
we confess that we thought so? Let's be real.
Yes, I think you always think that the person is going to
To make you happy.
make you happy.
Only to realize that sometimes, even when they do what you like, you are not happy. When they don't do it, you're not happy. Interesting, right?
It's true. I mean, it's so true what you're saying that you to remove that pressure. I think we should be distributing the wedding liturgy a little bit more, because you know we always say it's not good for a man to be alone. So it means that it's already God's idea. Second, we talk about Jesus performing the first miracle in Cana of Galilee, where he turned water into wine, signifying the presence of happiness. But the thing about Paul, where he talks about to signify the relation between Christ and the church. And I mean, people don't always realize the amount of sacrifice that goes into living with somebody.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge sacrifice living with
the
somebody.
lack of realization, and I don't know. I think we all learn the hard way in this one. The lacking in realizing that if I'm incomplete, for example, if I'm lonely, marriages will not be the cure of loneliness.
No.
You can be you can be lonely in a crowd.
Yes.
If you're lonely, you don't solve that by thinking I'll get someone so that I'm not. So marriage was never meant for anybody's happiness. It's true.
It's true.
It's the hardest reality to accept.
Yes.
In novels and magazines and storybooks,
they lived happily ever after.
They get married happily ever after.
Yes.
Well, we will be such conmen for us to stand here and say that is true. We have our own marriages.
Yes, we have our own marriages. True.
And not to say they're not glorious and joyous moments in marriages, except that comes from somewhere else. It doesn't come from a spouse. One of the scriptures that is difficult is Matthew 7, Mark chapter 7, and it's Jesus' confrontation with the teachers of the law and some of the Sadducees who've come from Jerusalem. They have found Jesus. You know that they found Jesus' disciples, and Jesus goes on to show them how they are hypocrites. But as you continue reading that, Jesus sort of paints a not very nice a verse that you'll never find it on T-shirts or on church themes, where he said, "For out of a man's heart is where what comes." thoughts,
Yeah.
and even foolishness. On that list, Jesus adds foolishness. So I think the reason why it's difficult and the reason why we get frustrated that this person I thought will bring happiness in my life, it's because we've also forgotten that they are fallen people.
Wow, it's true.
They are fallen. They are capable of all those things that Jesus lists there in Mark chapter 7, verse 20. That's their heart. And it is the same with your heart. So to expect such a person to be everything to you, that if you're not happy, then it's them to blame. If you're not, I mean, I like to say that scripture is difficult, but it's the first step into getting into a thriving marriage. That understanding that this is me, I'm capable of this, I'm a sinful man, I will need Jesus. For that kind of a heart to love anybody, including love myself, I'll need Jesus. I pick my marching orders from there. That's the altitude and the that's the attitude that I want to have as I walk into my marriage with this other person. It kind of tampers your expectations.
That's the expectations.
Yeah. Otherwise, we put too many. We put too much expectations on someone's daughter or someone's son. Yeah.
I think that's so true, and you begin to see it being actualized out there, and a lot of challenges that come in is because I think I like what you said. We tend to view it almost as a form of self-actualization. Nimefika. And then you realize that the person who you thought atakusaidia kufika is not even helping you. And then
they have their own journey.
Yeah. And then they have their own challenges in there. And that can be very, very difficult. Yep. The other major misconception that I always notice in marriage is the whole issue of since we love each other and we're so happy, then why are we arguing? I mean, and it can be a source of great concern.
Yeah.
Because you get married, we seem to be so happy, we are matching things, and suddenly we seem to be arguing.
Yeah, I think the way I've had it, or my own experience is, nowadays we are fighting all the time. You know, we don't seem to agree on anything.
Yes.
You know, that time comes. Need to be preached more for people who are not married. That time comes when it feels like friction everywhere you turn with your spouse. And that's interesting, like you're saying, because why is that? And yet we publicly say we love each other.
Yes, for better, for worse.
What has happened to the love beat? And again, that's why I said my marching orders, the place where I want to pick my cues, or the place where I want to begin to see the altitude that needs to inform my steps, is knowing that I am a sinner. And because of that, and because my spouse is also a sinner, God is not done with us yet. And I like to say, none of us, me and my wife, we are not Adam and Eve before they ate the fruit. Sometimes we like to think that way and act that way. You know, love hashtag manenos. I don't think conflict automatically means the absence of love between two spouses.
True that.
I think someone said that the thing about marriage is you know, a healthy marriage is not one where there's absence of conflict.
True.
But a healthy marriage is where you have come to a point where you know you don't need to see things face to face. You don't need to see each other face to face for you to be moving forward in your marriage. Accepting there's some days when your spouse will feel like, you know, throwing you in a very deep hole and making sure you'll never be found even by Google, you know.
Yes.
Those days are there, but they are not necessarily indicative of a relationship that is not thriving. I think that understanding helps.
That understanding helps.
And if I was to add, many of the times, it's the way you view conflict in marriage. Remember, you said for better, for worse, right? So what I like to think is, and I think it's my wife who came up with this mantra, none of us is going back to their mother. No matter what, no matter the conflict. So that helps me know that we will work on this, but for now, it just feels the way it feels. It just feels we are not seeing each other eye to eye.
You know, you've brought up that issue, and I can't help but also remember another major misconception that also comes in, and that is the misconception of forsaking all others. I've noticed a lot of people think, see, I've brought you to the altar, so I've forsaken all others. Then arguments come in. When the arguments come in and you seem not to be seeing eye to eye with each other, there's somebody out there who seems to be getting you. And a lot of people...
Especially at work.
At work. And a lot of people get very shocked when they develop feelings, and actually very legitimate feelings for somebody else other than their husband or their wife. And I know this is very, very shocking to be able to say at this moment that you actually are going to develop feelings for another person. And at that very moment, you discover that the forsaking all others was not just when you came to the altar that day and you signed a paper and you said those things, but actually it's an ongoing forsaking all others. And that has been, that I think is something that maybe needs to be said, because I think at that moment when people are beginning the journey, they never see it or they never even conceptualize it at any one time. But there's a statement that I've come to steal from you. And I use it a lot. So, couples, if you hear me here, you know the source. It's, we take ourselves too seriously.
Yep.
I mean, surely that must have come from a place of, what made you come up with that statement that sometimes people take themselves too seriously?
And I think we need to frame it in the conversation how that is a misconception. It's the whole thing, and this was my, I don't want to use my, but it's just a realization I came to, sort of an epiphany. I like to say my own experience, 12 years and counting in marriage. I've realized marriage is possible, not because of who I am, all right, but because of who God is, right? Marriage is possible not because of what I can do myself, but because of what God can do and is willing to do in my life with my wife. Marriage has nothing to do with any one of us. It didn't take long, especially let me use myself. It didn't take long for me, a guy who's in church circles, in theological school is getting married. I mean, come on, the dude is gonna be pastor and therefore, come on. He has ticked many of the dots, only to get there and realize, yeah, that is a very wrong attitude. You are not all that you think you are many times. And as you grow older, you're constantly realizing that you are not all that you think you are, honestly speaking. I think it's Pastor Charles would like to say, the bishop, that we keep shocking ourselves.
At our level of
what you can do. You do stuff and then you shock yourself. Hey, is that me? Who is that? Because you know. So never ever take yourself seriously in this life. The amount of evil that you're capable of is amazing. And so again, who are you? It doesn't take long before, in marriage, for your spouse to realize that he said everything, he said 11 things, but let's just say it's just 2 of them so far. Yeah, don't take yourself too seriously in marriage.
You're work in progress.
Take God seriously. The people who take themselves seriously, things go south, and one day you just get shocked of what you are capable of. I think that one of the worst is the things you're capable of saying to your spouse or doing that you never imagined that you can do to someone that you truly, truly love. And yeah, that's why I don't like to take myself seriously anymore. I take God seriously. I want to take God and what he has to say here seriously.
Yes.
Left to myself, I think I am that man who has slapped his wife. Temptation is there, I'm sure.
True.
I'm that man who has messed things up. For God's grace.
Do not want to apologize or anything.
Yeah, I'm that man who doesn't like apologizing.
Yes. I think just talking about those things, the thing that I'm able to pick up also is that, and I don't know if it's a misconception or it's something that that people need to be aware of. It's good that you develop open lines of communication from the very, very beginning. I say this because one of the very odd things that the times you experience whenever you're dealing with any couple is the stage of lack of communication, which is there. Now, people, by the way, people have a weird sense of normalcy, but they are not talking and they don't get to a place of being able to there are too many sacred, I think there are too many sacred cows also in marriage or in many relationships. People don't talk about those things and then they blow up. And in the long run, they become a source of a lot of challenges. I think that is something that I'm able to pick up. Maybe for young guys who are probably watching this and are thinking about getting married, one of the things that I've noticed is that, and probably something that you also picked up, is that premarital counseling becomes one more thing to tick.
Yeah, it's another
along the line. Why do you see it as a major problem?
Yeah, and I've had to tell some couples, how about you go ahead and get married and then you will revisit PMCC, because it's like you have a checklist. I want to do a wedding. Again, the ultimate goal is a wedding.
It's a wedding.
And you know that for me to get to that goal, which is the ultimate goal, the wedding, I will need caterers. So caterer stick, I'll need photographer stick, I'll need pastor. But then you go to pastor and pastor says PMCC, and therefore so PMCC tick, and then pastor finally tick. Right? I think that is such a serious misconception, and no one should ever do PMCC because they want to do a wedding.
Oh, sorry. Maybe you're addressing a global. Maybe I'm not idea of PMCC.
Premarital counseling classes.
Yes.
It's good to put things straight. So no one should ever do PMCC for the wedding. Yeah, no one should ever. You are setting yourself up. And that's why I think in this church we like to advise, come and do, as long as you've seriously begun to consider each other for marriage, come and do PMCC, even without a date, all right? In fact, get a date after PMCC, right? Because premarital counseling classes are for your marriage, not the wedding day.
Not for the wedding day.
Yeah.
And that's sadly is a major misconception.
It is a misconception. It's in this church that the only thing is Sasanika PMCC, and so most PMCC facilitators have a way of the way they joke about it is it's if you're doing it too close to your wedding, and or all you are thinking as a couple is your wedding, or sometimes you're coming even to classes and you fought like cats. Because you can't agree on the theme color, or you can't agree on, I mean, those things affect how you're even listening to the good facilitators who are trying to counsel you. So PMCC, it's preparation for the 7 p.m. What we said in the beginning. It's for the 7 p.m. and thereafter. Premarital counseling classes are for your marriage. They are not for your... There's the wedding day, no. You don't need... Wedding day, that 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. event, you don't need PMCC. Yeah. You need friends and resources.
I think even as we begin to come to a close, the other thing I feel strongly and able to say is that even as you think about PMCC and all those things, it should never be too close. Maybe the other concept that you never realize is this, that PMCC is actually there to kind of like break you up. That sounds weird. That PMCC is there to break you, or to really
shake you up.
And to be able to take you through the rigors so you can be able to know how to be able to stand.
Yeah.
Maybe any last words or something about you think about in terms of misconceptions?
Okay. Maybe not that, but you mentioned the young people and everybody who's trying to get married. I think the one thing I would like to say to them, please don't be afraid. I know the media is saying A, B, C, D about marriages. I know your friends are warning you about marriage. I know when you look at the evidence, what you are able to observe, the realities you encounter that has become your experience is, hey, marriage is not doable. I would like to say to such a person that marriage works, but it's hard work. Marriage works, but it's hard work. Get into a good church where they will walk with you those many months before your wedding, preparing for the marriage, not the wedding. And things will go right. Things will be okay. No, not promising happiness every day of your marriage, but things will go well.
All right.
Get to a good church where they truly believe marriage works, because there's a Jesus in heaven.
Amen. Folks, you heard it. Marriage works, but it is hard work. And there are very many misconceptions out there that we sometimes have to deal with. But guess what? Over the next few weeks, we are going to be exploring this whole issue about marriage. And so we encourage you to continue watching this. That brings us to the end of this other very exciting episode of Tuesday Connect. And I want to thank my very good friend and colleague, Reverend Mwangi Mushiri. Just in case you don't know who he is, he happens to be the associate pastor here at Mamlaka Hill Chapel City Campus. And from myself, Isaac Morage, pastor for adults and family ministries, it is adios, amigos, and God bless you.